Welcome everyone to our webinar today on Marketing UGotClass to Business with Stephanie Bowlin. Just a couple of notes before we get started. There is a question box on your toolbar. If you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to post the questions there and we will answer them at the end. Also, this webinar is being recorded. You will be sent the archive of the webinar probably within an hour or so, and then you'll be able to view it or share it with any of your staff. And with that, Stephanie, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning. My name is Stephanie Bowlin. I work at the University of Richmond in Richmond, Virginia, and I have been working with Learn promoting UGotClass programs and courses through the university for about almost 5 years now, and we've had a lot of success with UGotClass, both with individuals and also with businesses and organizations. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about a little bit today, is how to specifically market UGotClass to businesses. I'm not sure how many of you are actually using UGotClass right now, but as you probably know, there's a significant increase in the amount of online courses that are offered through universities and other higher education institutions. There were over 4 million students enrolled in online courses in 2012, and that was mostly just traditional age students as well. But as we know, that has taken a very big increase into the community education fields as well. So what we're going to talk about today,
Stephanie?
Marketing UGotClass to businesses. This is a huge... Yes?
For some reason,
hello?
It's Debbie. They can't hear you. I'm not sure why. I have Leslie talking to me here on our Skype. Should be able to hear you. I'm not sure why.
You can hear me, right?
I can hear you. I'm not sure why they can't hear you. Okay, Bill's saying, everybody else is saying they can hear it, so go ahead.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, sorry about that. So marketing to businesses is a huge untapped market that a lot of people don't realize, and in many cases you already have the connections that you need. So we're going to talk about two different things today. We're going to talk about the two different ways to reach businesses. The two primary ways are through current contacts that you may already have, and then also creating and researching new contacts. Let's start with the easiest. The best way to go is if you already have contacts at a specific business. Now, this could be students who have already taken a course, whether it's a face-to-face course or something else that you offer at your school, and they are employees of the company. Or you may have students that have already taken a UGotClass course and are employees of a company that you're interested in pursuing. So those are two great options for kind of starting the ball rolling with getting connected to a business. I don't know, one of the great ways that we collect information from our students is we actually ask them on their registration forms where they work. And so that provides us with some of those details when we're trying to connect people with the employers that they have in the area. So with your current students, one of the great ways to reach out to them, at least for the initial contact, is to request some feedback and testimonials about any UGotClass courses they have experienced. This is a great way to say, hey, I know you took a class, would you mind offering your feedback? And if it was good feedback, then maybe they would be willing to make a personal connection with other people in their company or provide you with information about who the correct contact would be. In most cases, you're going to be looking for a department head, a human resources manager, or someone that they have that specifies the training and professional development for the employees. It really depends on the size of the company to determine which of these individuals you would want to be contacting. But again, if you have a student who works there, in many cases they can tell you who that individual would be. Find out from them if they would be willing to make a personal introduction for you. Or if not a personal introduction, if they would mind you at least using their name when you contact them and say, I was put in touch with you by this individual. Having that personal connection is really going to help you get through the door quicker. So let's say you don't have any contacts at a company. Let's say you have a large employer in your area and you really don't have any students who have taken classes with you before, or you just don't collect that kind of data, so you're not sure if you have any of those contacts. So then what you would want to do is create new contacts. And what we've done in our area is research the large employers. We have several Fortune 1000 companies that are based in Richmond. We also look at some of the larger nonprofit organizations, some of the utility companies and law firms that are in the area that have large numbers of employees. Really, any organization that has a large presence in the area. You can obviously expand that search outside of your immediate area. Because these are online courses, you're not limited with people that need to come to your campus to take classes. So depending on what kind of area you're in, you can really expand that search into a larger metro area or even statewide, depending on what kind of competition that you may have in the area or just the size of the area that you live in. I find that one of the best ways to research companies is to look on LinkedIn. If you're already using LinkedIn, or if you're not, I would highly recommend that you start using it. For me, if there's a company that I'm looking for a contact for, I almost always can find some kind of connection on LinkedIn to someone at that company. So that's a great way to try to figure out, again, who that HR director is or who the department head is that you would want to work with. When you're researching the company, you also just want to have some general information. You don't want to contact them not knowing what they do or what kinds of skills their employees possess. You want to be able to talk to them specifically about the things that you can provide them with these UGotClass programs. So once you've got the contact information, whether it's from a current student who is a contact or by researching and finding the new contact, at this point, going forward, you would kind of go down the same path. You want to get in touch with that person and introduce yourself. An introductory email or letter, again, that's going to depend on how much information you're able to gather. If you don't have an email address for that person, then sending a letter or a package in the mail is always going to work as well. If you have some great promotional materials that are hard copy, you might want to send a package in the mail rather than doing an email. I find a lot of times that emails just go in and go straight out and people don't glance at them, especially if it's coming from someone they don't know. But if they get a packet in the mail that has some really nice promotional materials and a personalized letter, sometimes that'll get read a little bit more. You can also do both. You can send the package and then follow up with an email letting them know that you're sending some information and would like to follow up later. You want to introduce your program and explain what UGotClass can offer to their employees. You don't just want to say, we have these online classes, are you interested? You want to really be able to say, this is how these classes can help your specific employees. You may want to, it's sometimes up to you if you want to do this at the beginning or after you've started a conversation, but offer discounts, offer packages. If you let them know up front that you can give a discount if they send 2 or more or 3 or more employees, that's something that might catch their eye immediately. The other thing that you can do is put together a sample of courses that might meet the needs of their employees. That's going to prevent them from having to go through a huge long list of things that you offer, and they can immediately see, oh, here's 2 courses that I know I have some employees that would be interested in taking. You really need to highlight the benefits of online learning. You still have some companies and employees out there who have never taken an online class. You have some employers who will think, oh, if I'm paying for an online course, they're just going to click their way through it. They're not really going to learn anything. You know, why do I want to do that? I really want to send them to a face-to-face. So you need to highlight to them the benefits of doing classes online. Highlight the flexibility that their employees would have in participating in online learning. The fact that they have employees that could participate even if they're traveling. There are other benefits are the fact that there are more classes available online that you might have in your traditional face-to-face classes. If you're in an area, again, if you're marketing maybe statewide and people can't get to your campus, this is a great option to be able to say we still have these classes that are available to you. We had one local company that was hesitant to send people to our face-to-face classes because they didn't want them in class with competitors. They didn't feel that the employees would be able to speak freely and openly about questions or issues that they're facing if their competitors' employees were sitting in the room with them. So taking online courses kind of takes a little bit out of that. It gives them a little bit of anonymity. And it also allows them to interact with students from all over the country. So they're not necessarily dealing with people that work right down the street, but they can also communicate with people that are across the country or in a different area. You want to highlight some packages. Again, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but creating something specifically for those employees and being able to match the UGotClass courses to the skills that they might need. It may be that they don't need a full certificate in e-marketing, but it would be helpful for them to know about Facebook and about creating online communities. So those are things where they might not need a full certificate, but you can pull some individual courses to highlight for those employees. You may even want to offer a free class. If they have interest and maybe sending a dozen or 2 dozen students through classes, you may say, we'll let you take one class for free so that you can see how great it is, and then you can sign up additional students. If you're sending students to face-to-face classes, you may have 4 or 5 people out of the office on the same day. So when you're talking to these employers, make sure they understand that the online courses really give them the flexibility for multiple people to take the same class, but they don't all have to be out of the office on the same day. That's very important, especially for smaller companies or businesses that can't afford to have multiple people gone. For a lot of companies, the continuing education units are key selling points. So make sure you highlight that when you're talking to them or in the initial contact that you make. And if you have some other face-to-face classes that you think might be good to talk about in your introduction or in the information that you're sending, be sure to highlight those as well. That just makes them understand that, yes, you've got these great online courses, but you also have these face-to-face classes that are available as well. So you send out your communication, whether it's email or mail or a combination of the two, and you don't hear anything back. Don't get frustrated. Again, sometimes emails go in and out and people don't see them if they don't recognize them. So maybe if you just sent an email, your second follow-up would be the mail, or vice versa. Follow up again within 4 to 6 weeks if you didn't hear back after the first time. Also, follow up again the next budget year. Sometimes people just don't have funds to be able to send employees to classes in this year, but the next fiscal year they may have new training dollars that are available. So just because someone isn't interested this year doesn't mean that next year isn't going to be completely different. So don't just write them off. And then once you have engage them and they've started sending students, make sure that you involve them in your regular communication plans. The regular emails and mailings that you're sending out to all of your students, you need to make sure that you're including those company representatives in those emails as well. You should continue to provide packages and discounts to them. If you do it the first time, follow up again, 6 months later, a year later, and offer them some new packages. At that point, they may have had people that have already gone through classes and are interested in doing something different. Or maybe it just didn't fit the first time, but you put together a different package and that's going to work a little better for them. Once you've had a company that has sent a few people through your classes, really follow up and make them feel appreciated. Ask them for permission to highlight the company on your website. Sometimes it's really great to be able to say in a portion of your website that we have served employees from these 3 companies. And other employers will see that and say, wow, that's really great. That's one of my competitors, and if they took those classes, then I'm sure my employees would enjoy them too. It also allows you to use that comment and feedback when you're reaching out to other employers or companies. You can obviously get their permission first, but if it's someone that works in a similar field, you can get their feedback about what courses were most beneficial for their employees, and then that's information you can use when reaching out to employers in that similar field. You should be soliciting feedback from both the students in the class as well as their supervisors or the HR manager, whoever your direct contact is, because chances are the employer is the one going through the registration process. So you want to get feedback from them about the registration, the fees, any discounts that you offered, and how that worked and what their experience was on that side, as well as feedback from the students on actually taking the course and what they received from that. Are there any questions at this time that you have? If you want to type them in the little box on the side, I think Debbie gave you instructions on how to do that. I'd be happy to answer questions about any specifics if you have any details that you want to learn more about. We have really had a lot of success. Again, we have several Fortune 1000 companies that are located in our area and other large nonprofit organizations. And about half the time, we already have a student that has, or an employee who has been a student of ours. So we've been able to make the connection that way. And then about the other half of the time, we actually have to go out and do the legwork of finding the HR director or training coordinator and making that contact on our own. So we've had about half and half with how we've had to pursue this. Anyone have questions? I know this takes a minute sometimes. Okay, here we go. We've got a question. Okay, what time of year works best for reaching companies? We find that most of the companies we work with are on 2 fiscal years. They are either January 1st to December 31st, or they are July 1st to June 30th. So we really try to catch them towards the beginning of their fiscal year, because that's when they have the most training dollars available. And at that point, they might allocate those to employees, or they might allocate them and say that employees have a certain amount to use every 6 months. So we really try to catch them at the beginning of the fiscal year. When 5 years ago, when things were a little bit different, we would try to catch them on the end of the fiscal year to see if they had any funds left over that they wanted to use. But now we found that the beginning of the year is a little bit better for that. The other thing that we do is we continue to send them our course catalogs every semester. So they will continue to receive our spring, summer, and fall catalogs, even if that doesn't match up directly with their budget year. But as far as making initial contacts and really putting together packages and incentives, we try to match that with their fiscal year. And most companies, especially if they're publicly traded companies, you can find their fiscal year on their website. They'll usually have to have their financial statements or something posted, and you can find out what their fiscal year is that way. I'll wait a few more minutes to see if some other people have questions. Let me Someone asked me the other day about what history you pull for students that have taken classes. When we do our marketing and when we're looking at student communication, we usually look at students that have taken classes within the past 3 years. Now, we've really increased our UGotClass participation in the past 3 years. So when we first started, we were only offering a handful of classes, and now we offer almost all of them. So that we really try to pull that history for 2 to 3 years when we're looking at students to market to and contact. Here's another call. Do you ever do a cold call and phone HR directors or not? Yes, I have done that. Usually what I will do if I have an email address is I will email them a brief introduction and tell them that I will be calling within the next 2 to 3 days to speak to them individually. That way, if they are reading their email, they'll at least have a heads up and know who I am when I'm calling them. If I don't have an email address, I have done cold calls before. I usually try to save those cold calls for companies that I have at least some kind of connection with, whether it's whether it's an employee that they would actually know or not. I can at least say, hey, we had an employee of yours that took a class with us last year, and her name is Jane Smith, and I wanted to talk to you about sending some additional employees. So I try to have some kind of way that I can get them in the loop and get through to them at least. But usually I will try to follow up first with an email to let them know that I'm calling. The other thing you might want to consider, once you have these companies on the hook for the UGotClass courses, you can also continue to market to them face-to-face courses. We've done discounted packages that apply to both face-to-face and UGotClass because we realize that sometimes there are UGotClass courses that just might not be appropriate for everyone in their organization. So we'll do packages that can be combinations of UGotClass and face-to-face courses. Another thing that we will do is if a face-to-face class has been canceled and we have a similar UGotClass course available, we will offer them that free transfer into the online course. Are there any other questions that I can answer right now? Okay. Once again, for us, we look at companies that are big and small. So we have companies that have thousands of employees, but we also work with some law firms that only have 20, but they have sent 5 of their employees through our courses. So don't just look at the big course or the big companies, look at smaller ones as well, especially if you're in an area that has a lot of small local businesses. One of the great benefits for them is that by providing these online courses, they don't have to have everyone out of the office at the same time, and they can also provide some additional incentives for their employees if they wanted to, perhaps participate in the course in the evenings or weekends rather than during the workday. Any other questions? I'll wait just another minute in case anyone else thinks of anything. But I also have, if you think of any other questions that you'd like to ask and don't think of them right now, or if you have, real specific situations that you want to talk about, feel free to email me or give me a call, and I will be happy to talk to you about them. I will also be at the Learn Conference in November. I'm doing 2 classes on related to online courses and promotion and utilizing online partnerships. So if you're interested in coming to those, or if you just want to talk, grab some coffee, get some additional feedback, I'm happy to do that, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of you at the conference, hopefully.
Thank you, Stephanie, and like she said, you can contact her, or you can contact Learn or UGotClass at info@learn.org. We will also be sending you the archive of this webinar within an hour or so. And with that, thank you everyone for attending, and we hope to see you at the conference. Bye now.
Thank you.